Let's talk about flashers here now. There's a lot of different types, sizes, shapes, brands out there. We'll try and simplify it for what seems to work best for the most part. Starting from some of the biggest, you have larger flashers like these. You've got a fish-shaped one, and you got your traditional paddle one as well. And these ones tend to work better for pulling cut bait, herring strips generally, especially off downriggers. You can use these off dipsies, but we like the larger ones off the downriggers. If you're going to be using these fishing deeper water with dipsies, you'd want to use a Magnum dipsy to be able to get them down. And another style is the Spin Doctor, and they come in 10, 8, and 6 inches. This is a 10. The 8 is the most common one. Both 8s and 10s can work equally well with flies or cut bait rigs as well. I think the 8 is a little more commonly used for flies and the 10 is used more for cut bait, but you can mix and match for sure. There's the smaller paddle size as well, and some of them come with a fin on the back and some don't, depends on the brand. Some also have a chip that gives a little electronic pulse through the water. And these are pretty versatile. They work well for either flies or meat. A newer style that's come out the last few years is the hot fish paddle. It's kind of like a hybrid between a paddle and the Spin Doctor style. It's 10 inches, and it again, it works very well for either flies or meat as well. And then on the smaller end, we've got the little 6-inch Spin Doctor, and there's also smaller paddles and dodgers as well. And these generally are used with small peanut flies for coho fishing. You can fish spoons behind flashers. It does work. It's not as common as using flies or meat behind, but they do work well. The rule of thumb when making a leader behind your flasher is 3 times the length of the flasher. So this being an 8-inch flasher, if you're running a fly, usually like a 22 to a 24-inch leader for your fly is standard. If you were to go with a 10-inch flasher for a fly, you'd want to have about a 30-inch leader. Now these are just guidelines. You know, there's different ways to do it, but it's just how most people tend to. When using cut bait behind the larger flashers, anywhere from 4 to 6 feet is generally common. It's, you know, not unheard of for some anglers to try using an even longer lead as well. But you know, 5-6 feet I think is common for cut bait rigs behind a larger flasher. If you're using a fly behind one of these, maybe 36 inches.
Flasher fly combo. We have a hot fish here from Triple Threat, and we have king fly here. From King Flies. These are really nice. I like these. They're really robust. So basically what happens here is your main line's hooked up to the front of this, the flasher here. And either you're hooked up to a dipsy diver or you're hooked up to your downrigger. We don't usually run these off of weighted line. They just tend to be too much drag and too much weight on the line. I don't anyhow. I know some guys will run smaller ones, and again, to each their own. But the design of this is going to make this flasher rotate through the water kind of like this. And what that's going to do is that's going to make this fly rotate in behind it as well, which is going to give the fly that inconsistent look to it, as opposed to it just going through the water straight like this, which is not going to cause the fish to want to bite it. Another thing is too, this is kind of a little bit of a long leader we have on here. Sometimes I like to shorten up the leader. And if you shorten it up a little bit and it's like right behind this flasher is going to cause this fly to have a lot more whip to it. That sometimes will, you know, sometimes entice the bite. You got to remember, the longer the lead you have behind this flasher, the less action the fly is going to have at the back. The shorter it is, the more action it's going to have behind the flasher.